What's going on, y'all? Welcome in to a brand new episode of Snaps, youtube.com/snaps. T-Bob Hebert, Aaron Murray. We have a very special guest with us today. A supporter of the Second Amendment, as he has fully enjoyed his right to bear arms. My God, David Pollack just got in here about 30 seconds before the show started. If you're listening on audio, he is fresh from a workout, still breathing heavy, blood pumping through the pythons there. My God, I feel insecure. I'm glad that I have a sweatshirt on and my shot is so tight you can't see my arms. Pollack, you look incredible, dude.
Thank you, brother. Look like Jaden Daniels, bro, just carrying that LSU squad.
Yeah. I mean, hey, look,
there we go.
You have to, I will say, you have to look about as strong as you do right now to carry that defense. And he did.
Ain't lying.
For
He did.
much of the year.
Hey, where do y'all stand on the Heisman with him?
I mean, obviously I'm biased, David, but I don't think it's close who the best player in the country is this season. And
what about your partner over there? Your partner got some doubt?
I have zero doubt. I was just about to pull up a little T-Bob posted something from Cody Worsham earlier today. Yeah. This little stat line of Jaden, Michael, and Bo. And Jaden owns 90% of the categories, from yards to touchdowns to every significant thing. When it comes to offensive production, like Jaden is clearly the best player in America.
Well, and what's kind of funny about that chart, the only things he doesn't lead in is depth of target, which is Penix, right? But he's right behind him. And then Bo Nix is way behind them too. And then he doesn't leave in completion percentage where he's right behind Nix, but then Penix is way behind them. So even in the things he doesn't lead in, he's actually the best combination of both.
Well, and then you throw in rushing where he's 1,100 and nobody else is even in the ballpark. So, I mean, it's interesting because, and I've been a voter for 10 plus years, and every year it's the same thing. It's who's on a national championship contender, who's the kid and to me, that's not the best player in college football. And on your ballot, it says the most outstanding player in college football. It doesn't say on the best team that's in the hunt for a national championship. So to me, Jaden Daniels watching this year, he's been the most dynamic. He's made plays when you need to. He can throw. By the way, he's got some Lamar Jackson vibes to me. Like he's got some slight build, way better thrower. But he's got some of that quick wiggle, that really quick suddenness. My only game day brag I have to have on here, when he was a freshman and he beat when he beat Michigan State, when he was at Arizona State. After watching that game, he was a true freshman. I said, guys, this is the guy that could be in New York. He's that kind of good. Now, I did not know it was going to be for LSU and he was going to transfer, but you've seen it from a young age. The poise, the progression now of going through reads. Now you can tell he's a refined quarterback, more so than he was when he was a freshman, obviously. And, dude, he's a playmaker.
Is Penix even in it still? Like,
yes.
Are you serious? I kind of feel like he's kind of died away from the whole thing.
Here's how. I agree with you. Aaron, you're exactly right. He's died away. But the one thing I've noticed about voters is the last impression is the most important. And if you've got a Pac-12 stage and Penix throws for 400 and beats Bo Nix and is the best player on the field and, oh, my God, everybody's raving about him, I'm just saying he could get his foot in the door. Right now it seems like a two-horse race, but I think with Penix having the last opportunity, he's got the pen last, right? Like he has an opportunity to write a few more sentences in his story.
Well, so that's you mentioned the Lamar Jackson comp, David. I think that's interesting because like comps are not to say that they're going to be that guy, right? Like when you see Caleb Williams and Pat Mahomes, like that's the comp. It's not to say he's going to be Pat Mahomes. But when you start to think about Jaden's NFL potential coming in the year, if you just think it's kind of a mid to late rounder, I mean, I look now, sure, Williams, Drake May, but I mean, is he the next guy off the board after that at quarterback?
You got you got Bo Nix, you got him, you got Penix. All of them will be in the race. Oh, okay, first of all, let me do this because this will piss people off, and I enjoy that part of my job too. I don't look at Caleb Williams as a transcendent player that's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes. I look at a guy that has a lot of ability, and his playmaking reminds me of Patty Mahomes. But Patty Mahomes is one of one, and we can't do that to people because Mahomes feels the rush and has this sixth sense that's just stupid. It's not fair. It's not legal. It's like he's got eyes in the back of his head. He's just different. Caleb Williams, he's a great three-point shooter, and he makes those Steph Curry plays. I want to see him go to the rack more. I want to see him hit some freaking layups. I want to see him stop trying to make the big play all the time and throw behind the blitz and make the easy play that your receiver can go make some plays for you after the catch. So I think he's got the talent. I think he's got the playmaking ability. I'm not ready to put him in a category of Patty Mahomes. And I would say it was egregious and you're just awful that Drake May goes above him because Drake May's got some special characteristics and he does some things that are just sensational. But Jaden Daniels, to me, is squarely in the mix for the third quarterback. And you might be very happy that he goes down the board a little bit and goes to a team that's better and could be in a better position to succeed right away.
Are you concerned at all with like Drake's season? Because Drake's been a little bit inconsistent. You want to talk about Caleb being inconsistent. Drake has been that guy too. Like the guys that are going to get drafted after those two, and I know it's more some of it's team because of team, but the Bo, the Jaden, if Carson comes out, like all those guys have had significantly better seasons than those first two. Does that hurt them at all? Or we've just seen enough from them the first two seasons of saying they got the it factors, they belong at 1 and 2?
Well, you know how this works, Aaron. They got the most talent.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, like we can say this guy reads defenses and he's really good at X, Y, and Z. If you ain't got the most talent, a lot of times you aren't drafted as high. But I mean, look at a guy like CJ Stroud last year. Consensus number 2 to most people. If you watch the Georgia game, you said he was the best quarterback in college football. Like hands down, he was the best player. He didn't always show that it factor, that toughness, the ability to go run the football and scramble. Golly, man, he could do it. And you're seeing him do it on Sundays. Like he's willing to scramble. Just this past week against the Jaguars, he's willing to scramble and make plays. And you're like, was that coached out of you at Ohio State? Like, what the heck is going on of why you didn't use that? So listen, there's a science to it. Aaron, you know this more than anybody being in those rooms. Dude, they're going to poke and prod and ask stupid questions. Like, I'll never forget there was a guy from one team. I'm not going to say the team, the Saints, T-Bob. And he literally looked at me. And he he looked at me and he goes, we drafted Jonathan Sullivan at 7 last year. Jonathan Sullivan has a terrible work ethic. Are you like him? How do I know if I draft you at 13 that your work ethic? I go, sir, have you watched me play? He was like, yeah. I was like, do you see a lazy person? I was like, no, but neither did Jonathan. I said, did you come to Georgia practices? Because that's what you saw at practice. So, like, that's your decision. But they're going to ask you questions like Caleb Williams' nails are going to be a topic. Caleb Williams' dad talking to about ownership stake in a team and like, dude, your personality. This is the face of your franchise. There's so much more than just throwing a football. It really is. Like, can I trust you? Can you be the guy that stands in front of the team and does the right thing and says the right thing? And like, there's just so much that goes into it that is more than just throwing a football.
It's funny you mentioned the work ethic thing because between you working out, I was good friends with Brandon Sutherland in high school. He was older than me. I think he was a
swole.
You were, swole dude, right? Big, strong dude. But I remember being shocked when I went to the Georgia weight room on a visit and saw your numbers up there. Tell the chat what's give me your bench, your squat, and your hang clean highest you've ever done.
My bench sucked, by the way. Like,
what was your bench?
I'm gonna 455. And when I say, like, I think the average person is gonna go, that's so good. Like, I saw Ben Watson bench 585 like this.
Ben Watson did 585.
585. And he was like, the bar was like bending a little bit. It was crazy. So that was my worst. I power cleaned 400. And then I squatted 755. So that was the but no, I mean, that's
hard, son. Do you work hard, son? Do you have a good work ethic?
I didn't think about that, by the way. I should have been like, yeah, go check my weight room numbers. But that's the fun stuff, man, because it's literally you got to play psychiatrist, right? Like, I'm investing all this money. You're like, dude, I gotta know you're the guy that can do this, this, and this, and you get some strange questions. What about you, Murray? You were throwing up a solid 215 on bench, weren't you?
No. My problem was I got to Georgia and they had me lifting with the linebackers. I was benching like 325. Then like,
boy, that's pretty solid.
Like mini T-Bob over here. Mini T-Bob with that down a little bit. I was a little bit too swole back in the day. I was like 220.
What's funny is the perspective. I was 455 and I was like super proud of that. Pollack's like, nah, fam.
I bet you we had 30. I bet you we had 30 kids at Georgia that benched over 400. Easy.
Hey,
No. 400 was nothing. We used to rep 400. Like, for sure.
Crazy.
But
y'all are crazy.
But once you got above like 455, I feel like that was when, if you were above that, you were kind of among the elite.
Quick, crazy story on Pollack and his somewhat work ethic, but just mental craziness. We would play racquetball, Pollack and I, when I was back in college. Remember the first time we played, he showed up in a 50 pound weighted vest and played racquetball with me for an hour and beat my ass. I'm feeling so humbled as like a all SEC quarterback. This dude shows up in a 50 pound weighted vest and just whoops me up and down the court. Playing
hey, let me tell you something. You know who got his feeling hurt the most was daggum Coach Rick.
Oh, yeah. Coach
Rick used to get everybody thinks a mild-mannered Coach Rick. Coach Rick used to just get so pissed at me in the racquetball room, and he'd be using some words that y'all be like, we ain't gonna hear Coach Rick use those words. He was pissed, man. Him and Brad Johnson, bro. They'd be so mad in racquetball. It was awesome.
That is, look, that's what they used to do to racehorses back in the day. They tried to handicap them. Like if you're trying to make more, they just throw a bunch of weight on them, and the beast would still normally win. All right, so a lot of great Georgia stories, and lo and behold, boys, we sit here at the end of another season, and despite all my doubt, we finally come around. And through the course of this season, like I always knew Georgia was going to roll through up to this point, but I didn't expect to feel as confident in him as I do going into this weekend, going into the playoff. They look like the best team once again. DP, give me your, give me like kind of what are you going to be watching come Saturday against Alabama? Where are your kind of inflection points for this game?
So I wanted to hear, how confident are you? You're like 70% confident?
No, I'm like very confident. I'm like 90% confident.
And this guy was hating on him all year, just to start out.
Okay. Can we explain hate? All I said was it's near impossible to win 3 championships in a row, and I
was starting the 7-5. The 7-5. But
I said that they would go through the regular season, win the SEC championship, but they would ultimately fail in the playoff, right? And at first, Michigan kind of looked like they were that guy. But after what we've seen recently, no, I feel like Georgia looks like the best team in the country right now. So all I've done is adjust to, instead of expecting them to lose in the playoff, I think it still can happen, but I expect Georgia to actually end up making the repeat happen.
I'm not as confident as you are in this game. I think this is going to be a war. I think it's going to be a really, really good game. Let's start with the big storyline to me. The big storyline is last year at the national championship game, I'm sitting beside Nick Saban, and I tell him the new king of college football is the Georgia Bulldogs. And by the way, it didn't mean anything by that, but like it's just the way I felt in the moment. And now you got Bama, who's heard that for a year, and now get to hear this all week. Like surely they'll be motivated as ever. You want to hear something crazy, T-Bob? We start talking about all the matchups, and here's what I'll give you: Georgia's defense is not as good as Bama's. Bama's defense is better than Georgia's. Georgia's offense is better than Alabama's offense.
Yes.
So I'll go there. Here's what I can say clear cut about this game when I start to give an advantage. The better coach is clearly Kirby Smart. Clearly. And I say that because you've seen Kirby Smart. Now I have enough evidence. They're not going to get penalties. They're not going to turn the football over. They're not going to beat themselves. What have we seen from Nick Saban in Alabama the past several years? That discipline that we once saw that was elite of elite has eroded. Penalties up. Turnovers have been more consistent. Like the one thing I do know, and I know nobody wants to hear that, and I'm sure everybody's going to be like, oh, you went to Georgia. No, Kirby's the better coach right now. And this team's been more prepared. So, listen, I think I've said it all year. I started with Aaron after the first game, and I'll continue to say it. Georgia on the edges and linebacker aren't elite by any stretch. Jalen Milroe is the type of quarterback like Auburn, like Georgia Tech, that has given Georgia problems this year with the run game, with the running quarterback. The only difference is this isn't the same realm as what you saw with Georgia Tech, with what you saw with Auburn. This isn't the zone read and the insert zone read. This isn't the split zone bluff as much. Like they don't do as much of the reading stuff. But Jalen Milroe down the field is an elite passer. Elite. Really, really good. Better than Carson Beck, by the way. Way better than Carson Beck. The deep ball from Jalen Milroe is elite. It's so good. So you got to worry about the deep shot. You got to worry about him taking off and scrambling, and then they mix in the QB run element of it. I think Georgia's defense is going to have to play really, really well. And then their offense is going to have a challenge. You got the best corner, one of the best corners in the country, a lockdown corner. Where does he go? Who does he go to? You got other pieces on that defense too that can rush the passer, that can stop the run. That will be pretty good. So I think it's going to be an absolute war.
I'm with you on that one. How would you, if you're scheming up the defense to slow a guy down like Jaden or Jalen, excuse me, because it's not the zone read. It's not the design quarterback runs. It's more of like, hey, let me run around, especially like versus LSU. Let me run around, guys drop, and then I'm going to beat the spy one-on-one. Like we always talk about, put a spy on him. Most spies are still not as athletic to handle him one-on-one in the open field. Like it's not just about a spy in my mind. So like, how do you defensively, especially in those third and longer situations where he's been just dominant running the football, how do you and who does it take to stop him?
The hardest part about it, man, is my inclination as a pass rusher is to fly off the edge as fast as I can, beat hands, bend the turn, right? Like that's my inclination. That's my nature. I want sacks. So now when you go against Jalen Milroe and you do that and you go around the edge and you beat him and he steps up and then the whole outside's wide open and he can outrun everybody in your team, it's really, really bad. You got to do a couple things. One, if you're going to take chances and you're going to rush inside, it has to be his blind side. It cannot be his front side. If he sees it front side, he'll take off and he's gone. You can't do that. So when you bring some of those pressures, it will be from the blind side. When you rush the passer, you have to get to heel line. What I mean by that is you got to rush the quarterback to the rush him on the way to the quarterback. You stop at his heel line to make sure you keep him in the pocket. He is not a good intermediate passer. Nope. He's not going to murder you over the middle of the field, read holes in the zones and attack holes in the zone. That's not his game. So I have to make sure I take away the deep stuff. I have to make sure I corral him and make him beat me from the pocket. Newsflash, it don't matter who spies him. You can put Georgia's fastest player because he's going to give you that dead leg and he's going to hit the gas and he's gone. So I think that the majority of the work has to be, if you're going to take chances, do it from his blind side and you got to corral him, keep him in the pocket as much as possible. He ain't tall and he's not going to kill you over the middle of the field. So I anticipate Georgia trying to do a lot of that.
I mean, an offensive tackle's best friend is exactly what you're talking about, making him rush down the middle, making him rush contain. Back on Georgia, though, so my biggest reason for doubt coming in the year was Beck and Bobo versus Monken and Bennett, right? Because it felt like that combination is what pushed you across the finish line, right? Bringing in Monken, Stetson Bennett had that moxie, that kind of fuck you factor. I didn't see it from Beck and Bobo at first. I know the Georgia message boards were melting weekly early on. They feel like they've just hit this upward trajectory. Have you seen enough from that combination now to think that they can get you across the finish line through to a championship?
Yeah, I 100% have. And now it's not going to look like it has in the past. And listen, Georgia got rich people problems on defense. Like you're just used to what you used to have. Like you ain't got
bad, and
you're not a bad defense. You're just not what you used to be. It's rich people problems. Like, but more is put on the plate of Carson Beck. Couple things about Carson Beck that impresses the heck out of me. First of all you got to do is watch him throw the football one time. Sucker can throw it through a car wash and not get it wet. I mean, that sucker puts some RPMs on the football. So when he throws those down the field crossers and it gets there in 0.2 seconds, those safeties have very little chance to break on the football while playing multiple routes, deep routes, crossing routes. So those deep crossing routes is where he makes the majority of his money. And it is good. It is elite. So yes, I think they can. They're going to have to run the football in predictable situations better. Third and short, goal line situations. I'm going to need to see them be more physical and be able to punk people a little bit more. Milton has been toting rock, like hats off, because I really didn't think he was the second best running back on the squad for a while. I thought it was Bell. And Bell is their Debo Samuel, by the way. Dylan Bell, you watch him. Receiver, running back, daggum throwing passes. Threw a touchdown pass a couple weeks ago against Tennessee. So it's an offense with a bunch of people that can do a lot of things. By the way, I ain't mentioned Brock Bowers. I ain't mentioned Ladd McConkey, who's hopefully back. Love it. Ra Thomas, who gets back in the fold. Like they've got last year, a lot of the talk between people was that Georgia didn't have weapons to win. They didn't have the weapons to win. Well, they got plenty of weapons on the outside, and they got a guy with Carson Beck. His best characteristic, after all that stuff I've talked about, by the way, that sucker's like this. And he has elite pocket presence. He steps up in the pocket, ready to throw the football. And the dude's like Murray. He's sneaky athletic, which is code for he's a white boy that can run, right? Like he's sneaky. When he puts his foot in the ground and cuts, by the way, you can see he can go get 8 on 3rd and 8 and get you a new set of downs, which is awesome. So I've been nothing short of impressed with Carson Beck.
No, I listen, I've been saying it for a few weeks now. I think he may be a first rounder when it's all said and done. If he wins out the rest of the way,
not this year, next year.
No, this year.
Come back and
next
he'll be
year.
the
Why? Because he's played 1 year.
Number one.
Because he's played 1 year
next year.
Because he's played
Murray.
1 year.
Murray, I agree with. I'm not disagreeing with the talent perspective, and he could. I'm just saying you're getting paid over $1 million at Georgia. You come back and you go be
3 or 4.
Hey,
3 or 4. It's got to get to 3 or 4.
Hey, numero uno, which means your money goes from good money in the NFL to elite money. Face of a franchise money. That's what you go to, bro.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to say 2 days ago, bitch.
Now, I think he's a top 15 pick this year if he comes out, especially if he goes through the gauntlet of Alabama, Michigan, and wins a national championship. So we'll see. I agree. He'll probably be projected number 1 next year. But you got to go to Alabama.
Him and Quinn Ewers.
You have to go to Alabama, to Tuscaloosa, to Texas. The schedule's going to get significantly harder next year.
You always talk about not being scared,
and you don't have Ladd. You don't have Brock.
Scared Murray.
Saying you're losing a lot. You're losing a lot, man. Your stock is pretty high. I don't want to chance it. So we'll see. We'll see. Georgia 0-3 against Alabama in Atlanta. The monkey got off the back of the national championship, but do you think that plays into the mind at all of if it's still Alabama? We haven't beat them in this stadium. Last time we thought we were the better team, they whooped our ass by 2 scores.
Yeah, and then you got them back in the natty. I don't think so. I don't think you were. I don't worry about that. I haven't even thought about that, to be honest. Like I definitely understand what you're saying, like the past, but I mean, if these kids ain't got confidence in themselves after just collecting rings on all the fingers by now, I don't doubt it. And here's another thing too, just like I talked about to start with, I think Kirby's evolved and Kirby's grown up and Kirby's also learned how to coach and win. Like the biggest lesson to me that Kirby learned, and he said this before 2 people, 1 + 1 is 3. Kirby always knew how to coach an elite level. Kirby always knew how to recruit an elite level. Kirby learned how to do this and bring people together. And let me tell you something, those pregame speeches that y'all get to hear that get leaked, I would set them as my alarm on my phone every morning, except for I'd have to change my sheetrock because I'd run through that motherfreaker. Like I would absolutely run straight through it. So I'm not worried about I'm not worried about Kirby in big moments, in big games. I'm not worried about the Georgia Bulldog team. I'm not worried about the trigger man because the only thing that the only doubt I had about Carson Beck was exactly what T-Bob said, was the big moments in the big games. Yeah. Full confidence in him. Full confidence in him being a flatliner. Every time Georgia's been down this year, which has been a good bid against whether it's Missouri, South Carolina, these big games that, early in the season that can define you, make you, break you, answer right back and score. Answer right back and score. So, no, I don't worry about the past at all.
Well, and here's where for the rest of us it gets kind of scary. I love the Hardcore History podcast with Dan Carlin, and he has this saying in this World War II one where he's talking about the Japanese, and he's like, they're like all of us, only more so. And when I look at Georgia, Kirby's young, like you said, and Kirby is just he is in his zone. Like he is coaching better than anyone in the country. The speeches, everything, the halftime speeches when they're down, everything, right? Georgia as a state has the economy, and I mean like the actual state economy to really flourish in this NIL era. Georgia, like an LSU or a Mizzou, is the only Power 5 show in town. I don't count Georgia Tech. They're no real competition to Georgia when it comes to funding. They're not. People are donating to Tech over Athens, right? So it's like, okay. And they have much stronger economies, like I said, than Mizzou or Louisiana does. They have the best per capita talent along with a massive population, right? Like Louisiana hangs their hat on per capita, but we don't got that many people. And so where does it end for Georgia? Because there's every friggin' element when they just check every box, and especially with NIL and now the ability to pay these players. And Athens has always been probably the coolest town in the SEC. Like, where does it end? This feels like the most. there's always a bigger fish, right? And it felt like we never see anything that like other than what we saw to Alabama this past 15 years. But already Georgia has a chance to do something they've never done, and it looks insane to me because I just don't know where it stops.
Yeah, and the three-peat hadn't been done since Minnesota in the 30s. So, I mean, you're talking about history. Here's the thing I'll say about that. Fran Brown interviewing again for the Syracuse job. Glenn Schumann will get another job. Lanning's got a job. Michigan State, our DC for a number of years. What was his name again? Mel Tucker got a job. So, Kirby's lost guy after guy after guy and repeatedly replaced them. Here's who can't be replaced is Kirby. And here's what I'll say to your comment, T-Bob. Everything's there, correct. But do you get burnt out? Because Nick went from LSU to Michigan or to LSU to the NFL and needed to get a reprieve for a little bit. It's a hard life, man. You got to sacrifice a lot. And he lives in a world of work and perfection and grind and recruiting and all this stuff. Man, I tell you what. The NIL and the transfer portal has aged these coaches' lives 10 years the last couple years, man. Just by the way they've legislated this horribly. The NCAA is atrocious. So I think that's one thing that you got to look for is how that works. But here's two things that are not going to be talked about ever that I want to bring up, and two huge coups for Georgia and two huge reasons why they're at where they're right now. Will Muschamp comes back to Georgia as a fired head coach who's one of the most brilliant defensive minds in all of college football. He's at Georgia because he's a Georgia Bulldog, and he's been there the last couple years. You have a game planning meeting that consisted at one time of Dan Lanning, Will Muschamp, Glenn Schumann, Kirby Smart. That's stupid, okay? So having Will there as you continue to plug people in the future, I don't think he's going anywhere either because he's a Georgia guy. Mike Bobo, a fired head coach that comes back to Georgia, his alma mater. You got Brian McClendon. You got so many guys on this staff that are Georgia guys. They have so much pride in Georgia. I don't think a lot of these guys are going to leave, which is a saving grace. Like Will Muschamp, let me ask T-Bob, what ain't he seen? Think about we're doing I'm on the sidelines of the North Oconee game the other day, by the way, my high school game. Oh wow. And Benedictine comes out. And they come out in a different personnel, and they drive right down the field and score on us right away. And I'm like, my head's spinning. I'm like, what the flip? How did that just happen? And Will Muschamp's already seen everything. Yep. He's seen it all. He knows how to do it. You can't understate Mike Bobo and daggum Will Muschamp being there as just analysts for a while and hanging out and being some of those minds that are in meetings that is just – it's silly, and I don't think they're going anywhere, which makes it even more impossible for this run.
I think it's north of 20 between guys in the coaching staff and front office, that deal with just football that went to Georgia.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a crazy number of people that are Letterman and alumni of Georgia that are on that staff that, like Pollack said, that they don't want to go anywhere. So I don't know how much that staff is going to have.
Hartley, one of the best tight end coaches in the country. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, great. Big picture here. Who wins this weekend overall? Who? Give us your final four when it's all said and done. What four teams are moving on to the playoffs?
Dang, I hadn't. The good thing about my new life is I don't even have to think about this crap anymore. So
Michigan, you have to talk about the college football playoff every Tuesday. What do you do? It's so much fun.
I know, right? Yeah, but that's what happens. That's what happens when you get fired. All right, my mom would be pissed right now. She's like, "You got to let go." I'm like, "Mama, they told me not to come back. It don't matter what you can spin it however you want, Mama." But okay, Michigan's in. Iowa, if they score 7 points, they beat Iowa. So congratulations, Michigan's in. Man, Georgia's going to be in a war, bro. I think that's going to be the most interesting part of the weekend. Oh man, you got Florida State. Because here's the thing, and this is crazy. If Georgia loses, they're out. I think if Georgia loses, they're out. Because here's the thing with the committee. The committee has never got the four best teams ever. The committee gets the four teams they can explain the best. The four teams they can justify and say, this is why. Because there's a couple times Georgia lost to Bama in the SEC championship game, and everybody knew that Georgia was the second best team in the country next to Alabama, and they're sitting at 5, and somebody else gets in. That's going to happen. So I think that's why I think there's more pressure on Georgia. Texas is right there. If Alabama gets in over Texas and they're both one loss, like I think everybody will lose their ever-loving minds. I mean, because here's the thing, and here's what I'm saying. And I know Bama fans are going to be like, well, you hate me. It ain't about hating you, dog. Let's put this into perspective. Texas took their nice little orange-colored uniforms into your SEC stadium, your environment, and kicked the crap out of you. Yeah. Like, they absolutely destroyed you. Like, they beat the mess out of you. They beat you up. That has to matter. That has to count. So that's where it's fun, the intrigue. If Florida State wins, by the way, they're in. 100% they're in.
Even against like a one-loss Georgia, one-loss Alabama SEC champ. I mean, I know it's a team sport, but they lost their queen.
We got precedent. But we got precedents. We got 2014 where JT Barrett. What happened to JT Barrett? JT Barrett, season-ending injury, out. Ohio State still wins the Natty.
But Cardell Jones did ball out in that conference championship.
Okay, so why can't Wanamaker or ball out or whatever his name is, the backup?
Wanamaker does, sure. What if it's like a close?
I'm just saying. I will say this: there's a lot of elements. You got a top 10 pick as a pass rusher. You had that in Bosa. Yeah. You got receivers out wide, Keon Coleman and company that are freaking freaks. So like, Florida State's in now. They got to beat Louisville first. And I'm not sure they'll beat Louisville. But listen, this is awesome. This is a great time to have a 4-year playoff. Here's another thing. Pac-12, Washington, Oregon. Winner, in. 100%. 100%.
Would you put in Oregon over Texas and Alabama if both them win?
Oregon, if they win, they are 100% in. If they
why Oregon over Texas? Why Oregon over Alabama?
If Oregon avenges their only loss, what they lost on the road when they easily could have won the first game, and they avenge that, I think they're 100%, and they're a champion. I think they're in it.
You don't think the committee says we're not leaving out Texas and Alabama, putting Oregon over them? Like, do you think that's part of the conversation? Brand, Texas, Bama, SEC.
Listen, and I'm just talking about from people in that room for years and years and years. They don't care about the brand. Now, subliminally, does that matter? I'm sure it has something to do with it. But a lot of times, again, they remove that stuff and they just put Team A, Team B, Team C, and they go and they do that. But I think Oregon. I think Oregon wins, they're in. Washington wins, they're in. Georgia wins, they're in. Michigan wins, they're in. Florida State wins, like they're in. So there's a lot of teams right there. Now, if all won. Like Washington goes out from being undefeated, and Oregon has to obviously have a chance to come up in there. But that would be the nightmare scenario was Georgia wins. Think about it. Georgia wins, Michigan wins, Oregon wins, Florida State wins. That's easy, right? Yeah. Who am I leaving out?
I think Texas. I think the Texas-Oregon is a real conversation.
So Texas-Oregon is the one you debate with.
I would debate Texas-Oregon.
And listen, I think we could have a healthy debate. I could argue with you that I think Oregon's been a lot more dominant this year throughout the season.
Well, they have an easier schedule, though. They've had an
much easier schedule, but I don't think the Big 12 is anything special either.
No.
But it's got more good teams. We talked about the Pac-12 early in the year, but you've seen them kind of fizzle out and not be as dominant. But if you beat a top 3 team in Washington, and that was your only loss, to me, that says, okay, well, we'll look at them basically as undefeated in their end.
And Washington's won like 1,000 games in a row. Last one here, a kind of random one to end on, but it sounds like I know the answer. You think Oregon's going to get Washington this weekend?
I do. I think Oregon's going to get them. I think did y'all watch the game last time, man? I thought Oregon was the better team. I thought Penix. Don't tell me about that. Hey, listen, I thought Penix showed you why he's so daggum good, though. He spun it all over the yard. But how about the 4th downs, man? Like, surely we're not going to do that again. And I know there's the analytics world, green, go for it, all that crap. But, man, I would argue they were a little reckless, I think, with their calls. I think Oregon's a better team, and I think Oregon will take care of business.
Hey, Pollack, we get the analytics in the booth now, where we get the green light, red light on all 4.
I know, isn't that crazy? And by the way, analytics, real quick. Let me attack the nerds.
I was about to say, the bigger your muscles are, the more you hate analytics. This is just
not rule. Every team is created equal. Right? Like, not every team can we sit there and say, oh, yeah, go for it. Well, if your offense ain't very good, no, that doesn't mean you get to go for it. Like, play to your strengths. Are you going against a great defense? Like, There's a lot more factors than just green light.
Okay. So to be fair, though, that is why I actually liked Lanning's decisions. There was all kinds of crazy stats like, Oregon's gained 3 yards and like 80-something% of their plays and like trust Bo Nix. And here's I know Oregon's better on paper. They should win the game. But Kalen DeBoer's got a lot more wins on that resume than does Dan Lanning. He's coaching a lot more big games. And I'll still take Penix. The FU freestyling on the sidelines as they're getting ready for the game-winning drive, Penix over Bo Nix, who spiked that ball right before half on third down. That could have been a touchdown. We'll see. We'll see.
So you like Penix over Bo? Okay, I got you.
Hey, we didn't.
Well,
you didn't give us a straight answer. Dogs, Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
You've been kind of skirting around it. I just
because y'all love it, y'all are so scared. Guys, Georgia's going to win, bro. Georgia's going to win. Maybe Alabama has a slightly better defense, but the offense is way better than Bama's.
But I told you to me what it boils down to. It boils down to coaching, and I think Georgia's better. So
there you go.
I think their defense is going to give up a lot of plays. I think their defense will find a way to be great where it matters the most in the red area and make some plays. And here's the biggest thing. They'll force a turnover or two. They'll make Alabama do something that they don't want to do. And Jalen Milroe is a really good quarterback and a good player, but I think his mistakes come a lot more frequently than Carson Beck's, and that will be the difference in the ball game.
Very well said. That's why he's the legend, one of the best. David Pollack, thank you so much, man. Do y'all know how strong you have to be to power clean 400? Like power clean's like the best single metric of strength. It's total body, it's hips, upper, lower. That's
explosive. You got to be explosive to do power clean. My son all the time is like, "Daddy, how do I get strong? How do I get more explosive? How do I get more explosive?" I said, "Buddy, go in there and do power cleans." He's like, "Will you come in there with me?" I was like, "Absolutely not. I'm not your trainer, bro. You go do it yourself." But power cleans is the way to do it, bro.
All right, DV. Thank you so much, man. You have a great day.
All right, you too, guys.
See you, Pollack.
Wow, that was a lot of fun, man. You gotta love getting a guy post workout too, because you can tell he's feeling fucking good. Endorphins pumping. Maybe he got some pre-workout in him or something. That was fun. That was super fun. Great breakdown. Man, great job setting that up, Aaron. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're going to hear from DraftKings real quick. Then we're going to give some year one report cards to some of these. So, look, we got Deion Sanders on report card coming, Hugh Freeze, Matt Rhule, Luke Fickell, Jeff Brohm. Keep it locked right here. Can you believe that we're this deep in the NFL season? Well, check it out. We got to make every second count. And with the DraftKings Sportsbook app, you can make the most out of every game day. You can bet on your favorite teams for a shot at winning big bucks. And right now, new customers can score $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on any NFL matchup. That's right. Any NFL matchup right now, $5. You get $150 instantly in bonus bets. You want to bet your hometown team, you want to bet away. It's all there for you. And remember, if you're returning customers, always great game day deals and boosts and offers going down on the DraftKings app. And you can always do your multi-game or same-game parlay. So get in on the action with the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You download the app now. Use the code T-Bob. Okay, if you're a new customer, T-B-O-B, new customers, $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on the NFL. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code T-Bob. The crown is yours. Yo, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. T-Bob Hebert, Matt LaFleur here on Snaps. That joke only works if you're watching on YouTube. My God, Goat Dog in the chat is right. You really do.
Hey,
look like Matt
some guy goes, Aaron just trying to turn his wife on. You guys leave his haircut alone. I mean, thank you. Yes. Let's just trying to get lucky tonight. Come on.
You definitely look like somebody who loves to talk about banging chicks. Like that is absolutely the vibe that you are giving off right now. All right. Okay, guys, real quick, please hit the like button, sub to the channel. 8.7, boys. We freaking love to see it. The road to 10K continues. Remember, 10K by the Natty is the goal. All right, let's also do. Yeah, we should get dude, Pollack electric, dude. What's Pollack doing nowadays? Anyway, first year report cards. Let's start with the man that we both fell in love with early on, Aaron, and I'm still a long-term believer, and we'll get into it. Let's start with Deion Sanders. What letter grade would you give Sanders here in year one?
I would give Deion a C+.
Oh, okay.
C+.
We have not seen each other's grades.
Oh,
and I
you got C+
also went
too?
C+. I went C+.
And I was torn here, but then I kind of had to remind myself that we've talked more about Colorado football than we've talked about Colorado football in a decade. So like he brought attention, he brought excitement. He was the talk of the town for the first 5 weeks of the season. Yeah, it's been a complete fail, and they've lost some recruits and just not trending in the right direction towards the end of the season. But he did what he was brought in to do: bring attention and notoriety to Colorado, and he's done that. Like that was the first mission. Can you bring some excitement to a program that was 1-11 last year? That was the first goal, and I think he's done that. So hopefully now on the field, production will start next year a little bit more.
It's kind of funny. Seth Martin said Colorado predicted to finish 11th, but they finished 12th. Okay, so we exist in a world, I think, of coexisting truths a lot of times, right? And we don't always like to acknowledge that. So RG3 tweets, Coach Prime lifted Colorado football from 1 win in last year to 4 in year 1, from no hope to hope for a bright future. Whether you love him or love to hate him, you watch Deion's team at levels never seen before for a team coming out of a 1-win season. Next year will be fun. Danny Cannell chimes in with a quote tweet. Colorado didn't beat one team with a winning record. They lost their last 6 games. Players are hitting the portal. Coaches leaving. Recruits need to come in. They have the 64th recruiting class behind UNLV, BYU, USF, all ahead. But sure, everything is great because people watched in RG3's world. So again, Danny Cannell is not wrong, right? I mean, Colorado didn't beat a team with a winning record. Players are leading. There's been some coaching drama that wasn't expected at the beginning of the year. And maybe the biggest disappointment is they have not recruited well. But like you just said, Aaron, RG3's right as well. We watched. They are a much better team than last year. And not just because of their win total increasing to 4. Because really, that's one of the most disappointing parts, right? From the Vegas standpoint, they actually go a little bit underpassing because they opened at 4.5. Now it got bet down to 3.5. So really they just matched they pretty much just matched the expectation at 4. When we talked before the season and tried to count wins, you found 4, but they still improved. I mean, look, during that 6-game losing streak, they barely lose to a good Arizona team, a 1-score loss to Oregon State. And a 1-score loss to Utah without Shedeur Sanders. So
well, I don't think we could have predicted too. Yeah, and I don't think we any of us predicted the Pac-12 would be as good as it was this year either. Like I think when you're looking at win totals to start the season, you're like, okay, yeah, maybe there's an avenue. But then all of a sudden you look up and like you said, Arizona's a good football team. Yeah, Oregon State's a good football team. UCLA's had moments when their quarterbacks are healthy. Like that was one of the more competitive conferences this season. So like I think that has to be play a factor into like you came into the Pac-12 in the wrong season. You came in when they were their strongest, and now you are leaving to go to the Big 12 when the Big 12 is losing their Big 2, in Texas, Oklahoma. I do predict and feel like you are going to see a team that is at least bowl eligible next season. Like they are trending in that direction a little bit more.
Yeah, I think, and I do think, I don't know what high school recruiting is going to end up looking like. I think they're going to finish relatively strong in the portal.
Yes.
Blake Walters, my only question is, without the hype and attention, will it work out for Deion? He always got at Jackson State and the start of Colorado. Now that it's dying, will his brand sell as well? Here's my deal, though. Why I've believed in Deion has never, the hype and the attention was just something fascinating to talk about. While I believe the real reason why I made that bet that ended up not hitting, thanks to Eric Eymanner in that 300-yard receiving game in Stanford, is because how he coaches, how he talks, the expectation. To me, he sounds like everybody wants to talk about the flash and it's fun, but I believe in the substance. So I would still bet on Deion long-term. And if I was Florida, after I fired Billy Napier next year, and Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter are gone, I'd be calling up Prime and saying, come on down to the Sunshine State, man. So I'm betting on Deion long term, but a C plus this year.
And I hate to say this, but it goes back to what you said about the portal versus high school. Do we truly envision Deion being in Colorado in 2 years? Because if not, if he's looking at this as like I'm going to be gone as soon as those 2 guys are gone, then why would you really focus on high school recruiting? Like you're just trying to put Band-Aids on right now. Like you're just trying to go out there this offseason and get 3 or 4 offensive linemen that can protect your son, That way is a better chance to be a Heisman winner and be a first pick in the draft possibly and all that good stuff. Have success in the Big 12, and then you move on to a bit better job.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not worried about high school recruiting. I'm interested more of like, how big does he go once again in the portal this offseason?
Well, also maybe Colorado, even if he stays there, right? Like maybe Colorado just ends up being like an Ole Miss, where they're going to say, look, our strength is never going to be high school recruiting. We're going to continue to just build through the portal year in and year out. That probably kind of jives with Deion's NFL experience a bit more in some ways anyway. Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers.
Ooh.
I think I'm going to be a bit more bullish on this than you, actually.
You?
That's your initial grade. Yeah. What do you got here?
C-. Still
okay,
passing.
I actually went B-.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't after the past 2 weeks. You can't lose to New Mexico State and then have the way that game ended versus Alabama and have me feeling all good inside about the end.
So
if
you beat Alabama, what's the grade? Just as a hypothetical exercise.
B.
It's in the A, right? It's an A. It's an A- at least.
B+.
Oh, you're full of shit.
You still lost to New Mexico State. You lost to New Mexico State.
If you had beaten Alabama, you would ever hear the phrase New Mexico State again? Get the fuck out of here.
Probably.
That was a get out of jail, get an A on the report.
How are you going to give him a B with both those losses to end the season?
I'm going to give him a B- because I thought Auburn was in an awful spot last year. They improved by a game from 2-6 and 5-7 to 3-5, 6-6. And at home, granted, they got all these games at home. So that's a good break for Hugh Freeze in year one. But they played Ole Miss, Georgia, and Alabama very well at home. Those are all teams that were way, way ahead of them on the talent development scale. Peyton Thorne's awful. And I feel bad. But I feel bad, but I actually have no way of making it sound less bad. Like Peyton Thorne's not good. Like I know Hugh Freeze knows how to get the most out of quarterbacks. And like Peyton Thorne was the worst quarterback in the SEC. So if you're telling me you go 3-5, like after what I just saw Arkansas do with KJ Jefferson, you're telling me you go 3-5, 6-6 with Peyton Thorne. Like I know Hugh's going to get a quarterback. I know Auburn's got the money in the buying. And to me, that's where I think actually Hugh Freeze gets his biggest win is off the field.
Yes.
He is the right man to lead that circus that is the Auburn administration and boosters.
Well, and I had their game. I had one of their games probably about 6 weeks ago, and I called Cole Kubelik just to kind of talk about, what's life like at Auburn right now. And that's what he said. He said, off the field, this is the first time I can ever remember where everyone's rowing in the same direction. From the people who are in charge of the money to the front office to the coaching staff to recruiting, like everything is heading in the right direction. And it's not this faction fighting this faction and this fact. It's like, this is the plan. This is our guy. We believe in you. What do you need from us? What can we do to help elevate what you need to take this program to another level? So like in that case, like maybe I'll bump it up to like a CC+, but I cannot give you anywhere in the B's after what's happened the past 2 weeks. Like if you would if you would have beaten New Mexico State and got blown out by Alabama, I probably still would have given you a B-. But to lose to New Mexico State in the way you lost to them, which was you got punished at the line of scrimmage. You rushed for 60 yards and you gave up over 200 yards rushing. Like that was embarrassing.
This is where you do the classic, Nick Saban lost to ULM year one at Alabama. Yeah. Like Nick Saban doing that gave every coach an out to always be like, look at that. Yeah, they were fine. Okay. So maybe I'm being a bit kind to Hugh. Maybe I'm grading too much on off the field, but I'll go B- there.
They got their guy. They got their guy. Like I think we both agree on like Auburn, you got your guy. Like I think there's going to be huge improvements from the Tigers next year.
Matt Rhule.
Ooh.
This one hurts my heart. I went D+.
Wow.
D+. And there's a reason for it. First off,
because he lost you money.
And I don't no. I don't always love I
thought you bet on the over. No? Well, I don't even remember.
I probably did. Who fucking knows? Anyway, but the point is like to be fair, Vegas over under win metrics are kind of an interesting way of judging some of these things, right? They were at 6.5, but I don't even really care about that. It is the collapse at the end of the year and the context in which that collapse took place as to why this grade plummeted. I mean, Aaron, we're talking 4 games in a row to get bowl eligible. You win any of them, it's a very successful season. Not only Do you lose all of them by one score, which we'll get into in a second, is absolutely depressing for Nebraska fans. But listen to this. Michigan State had lost 6 in a row when they beat you 20-17. Maryland had lost 4 in a row when they beat you 13-10. Wisconsin had lost 3 in a row when they beat you 24-17 in overtime. And then with one final chance in Lincoln, in front of a home crowd, a chance to get bowl eligible, a chance to win a close game against the Big Ten West winners and the Iowa Hawkeyes. A good Iowa team would have been a huge win. You lose 13-10.
Yep.
And so now that's 4 November losses by 3 in OT and by 3. And now you got 29 one-score losses in the last 6 years. What the fuck, Nebraska fans? That's gotta feel so bad. But and so that was like the whole focus of the offseason.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. But I'm still a massive Rhule believer. I'd buy more stock in him than Hugh Freeze, anyone else. The problems are easy to fix. You turned it over 1,000 times. You were dead last in the country with 31 turnovers. Like it's so
quarterbacks were 10
here.
10 you whiffed on the quarterback. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like, you brought in Jeff Sims, and we thought that was going to be a guy, and we learned really fast that he ain't that guy. 10 touchdowns to 16 interceptions for his 3 quarterbacks this season. You ain't going to win many games.
They fumbled the ball over 30 times.
I mean, that's the difference between winning half those games you lost.
Yes.
Difference between winning half those games.
It's not a hard fix. And how about this little fun Matt Rhule fact?
So bump with the grade. Bump with the grade from a D then.
No, because if you're a Nebraska fan, you could not have scripted it worse. Yeah. To be on the edge of getting bowl eligible and lose 4 November games in a row by 1 score in the exact same bullshit ways in which you did pre-Rhule is not going to give you a passing grade. But I'm taking Matt aside and I'm calling my office saying, look, I know you're going to get this right. Okay. You're going to study hard this summer. You're going to get this right. I believe in you. Like, I believe in the potential of Matt Rhule. How about this? Year 1 at Baylor, 0-4 in 1-score games. Year 1 at Temple, 0-5. Year 1 at Nebraska, 1-5. In year 2 at Baylor and Temple, that increased to 12-11. Okay. 12-11. So there's hope on the horizon.
I'm with you, man. Like, you can't lose that many close ball games and not feel like we're just knocking on the door. We're not that far off, but it's been like that for 3 years now for Nebraska. So maybe it's just a Nebraska thing. Maybe it's not a coaching thing. It's just some bad juju over that program.
If you actually watch this team versus Scott Frost's team, this team is much better in every way except for turnovers, which I know that's like a big but also that's like so clear. You can no, bro, this defense is fucking good.
Okay,
they play hard.
The offense is horrendous.
Well, because they turned over 7 billion times.
So bad.
They'll get it fixed.
So bad.
If only you little Georgia bitches hadn't stolen Dylan Raiola. What's he going to go ride the bench for a couple of years before he transfers out and comes to Nebraska anyway?
Probably.
Whatever. Luke Fickell.
What did Wisconsin finish off the season?
Bro, that was my exact reaction. Was like, I haven't thought about Wisconsin all year. They finished 7-5, 5-4 in the Big Ten, which is kind of nice. Weird year.
Just give him just a straight C.
I did C+. I like C. I like C. I'm with you. I'm just gonna go C.
I mean, you changed the entire offense, and you know it's not to the maybe the extreme of Mississippi State, because there's more talent on that roster than what Mississippi State has, but like, you took an offense that was pro style as pro style could be and try to say, okay, in 1 year we're going to flip that roster and turn it into a spread air raid type system, and that takes time. And a good thing for him compared to Mississippi State, you signed a contract that gives you that time. Like, so I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he looked at this as like, hey, this is the identity that I want to become. And this is going to be a 2-year process, if not 3-year process. And we got bowl eligible. We're 7-5, had 2 games we won the end of the season. Like, I think it's a good season. It's all right season.
So that's where it gets weird. Couple nice wins over Purdue and Rutgers to start, a Rutgers team that ended up being pretty good, but then losing to Indiana and Northwestern in the middle. But I like finishing over Nebraska
7-5 though. Northwestern was better than we thought they would be.
But still, I mean, Wisconsin's preseason win-loss was 8.5.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that should be the end-all be-all in these conversations, but like, we're actually
Indiana loss hurts. The Indiana loss hurts big time.
We are treating Wisconsin with a bit of kids' gloves here, but it's because we didn't fucking watch Wisconsin. Like,
Very little.
Nobody watches.
Very little watching Wisconsin.
I did not watch the Dairy Raid. I forgot they kind of played this year. Jeff Brohm, finally, somebody.
Oh,
A,
yes.
Right? I mean, easy A.
Easy.
An A- because of driving to Kentucky. I mean, losing your arch rival in a year when they're not that good. I would actually maybe go A-, but still an absolutely fantastic year in the ACC championship. The added wonderful narrative love of a homecoming for Jeff Brohm. He would be the only first-year coach that I score with an A.
7-5 last year to 10-2 in the ACC championship game, and I do think they're going to win this weekend. So, like, I'm going to bake that into my grading right now, and I'm going to give them an A, straight A.
Okay,
let's go.
What if they lose this weekend?
Then it's an A-.
A-? Okay,
yeah.
Okay. For Louisville, I think the thing to prove is going to be how sustainable is this, you know? Because, like, I'm betting on Luke Fickell long-term at Wisconsin to be pretty good.
Really? In that conference? I feel like the ACC is a little bit more sustainable.
Up against the Big Three. I mean, bro, I'd take Wisconsin. I mean, like,
there's not just Big Three anymore. There's Washington. There's Oregon. There's, the potential.
That's what I'm saying. I think Wisconsin's not going to be too far off from being on kind of what maybe Oregon and Washington I got to I need let's see post-Nix, post-Penix.
Everyone drops back 2 spots, at least 2 spots.
Washington, well, that's what I'm saying, but not with how we've seen Wisconsin in the past. Like, there's a world out there where they are on, like, what are Washington and Oregon going to be post-Penix and Nix? Let's just see that.
I think Oregon, I'm more confident in Oregon building for the future than Washington.
I know, because everybody's like, fuck Kalen DeBoer. All he does is have like a 110-0 head coaching record. Why would we trust that guy?
Yeah,
fuck him. Exactly. Oregon
has built a bigger brand over the past decade. Like and not saying like Washington doesn't, but I think Oregon resonates with more recruits to be able to bring in top tier talent compared to Washington.
Look at that. All SEC teams announced. Bill Baggins saying Jaden named player of the year for the SEC. That makes sense. But yeah, so that's my only thing is, like, I kind of believe in all these coaches that got worse grades than Brohm more than Brohm, which is super disrespectful of me. So here's hoping that Jeff Brohm can prove me wrong.
Where is Washington? Oregon is currently ranked 6th in the country in recruiting. I don't even see Washington anywhere. Oregon, more sustainable. Washington, 39th.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that Oregon is more sustainable. And
more money, bigger brand, cooler uniforms.
True.
Yeah.
That's it, folks. Real quick, though, before we go to break, or before we say goodbye, shout out from our friends at Vaulted.
Everybody loves making sports predictions, but there's a new app putting a whole new spin on the game. Check out Vaulted. That's spelled VLTED. Vaulted. It's an app where you can track sports predictions and participate in daily cash prize pools. You can also show off your sports knowledge against your friends, your buddies, by your boldest takes, challenging your friends to see who makes the best picks. You can challenge every week in my weekly Colin Cowherd NFL pool. Do that, win money, real money. All you have to do is answer questions and risk confidence points. VLTED, Vaulted app, Vaulted Challenge. So download the Vaulted app right now, VLTED. The QR code is right there on the screen. Prove you're smarter than your friends and get the Vaulted app today. Really easy and fun to play.
Somebody mentioned Jamie Chadwell. We kept it a Power 5 only, but obviously Jamie Chadwell, I mean, he's undefeated, awesome, A+.
A lot of great ideas for when we get to 10K though, like T-Bob.
I kind of like
haircut.
this idea of me getting a fade and like a scrub and like a spray tan.
Does everyone want to see the full
and like
fade?
Like becoming Aaron Murray? Oh my God! Look at that!
Dude,
thing.
she went
is high and tight.
I did not want this high and tight, and she went straight peaky. I don't know if the one feel like this. I do not know. I got to do so much TV this weekend too here in Atlanta. I'm like, damn it.
It'll grow out nice in a couple days, dude. It'll grow out nice. Go Dog Snaps is cool. Snaps is swag. Hell yeah, dog.
Hell yeah.
All right, y'all. Huge thank you. We love you. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. Please continue to spread the good word if you enjoy the show. You can rate or review it wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. And we'll see you tomorrow for a brand new episode of Snaps.